Hello, welcome to another edition of Data in the Hallway. My name is Ray Pate, Community Manager at PingCAP, and joined by my colleague Daniel, beaming in from the Netherlands. Daniel, it's good to see you safely back home after all your travels.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, cool. And joined by two of our colleagues, Terry Purcell. Terry, I think your title is Chief Optimizer Architect for TiDB, and then you are our guest about a year ago. It's good, always good to have repeat guests. It shows that Daniel, I haven't like scared you off yet. So welcome back. And Kyle Biniasz, you're our first time guest, but you're head of our demand gen effort. Both of our guests happens to be based in the West Coast today. It's good to have you both. So.
Thanks for having
Good to
us.
be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, so as you can see from the episode of the title, we just had a major milestone, both as a company and a community. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary, both as an open source project and a company, and there were a lot of celebration by all of the team members around the globe. Lots of cakes, happy hours, swag, et cetera, et cetera. So it was fun. But another way that wasn't as public, I guess, another way we wanted to celebrate our anniversary was to have an internal hackathon, sort of going back to our roots. I mean, if you meet with all three of our co-founders, they're obviously hackers at heart, right? So I thought this was a fun way of celebrating the anniversary. And what we've done, I mean, typically when you think about hackathon, you think about people like engineers getting together and pounding on their keyboards to write code, but we also wanted to involve everybody in the company. So we had a separate track called, I believe it was called like business efficiency. So a lot of non-technical people did participate in the hackathon as well. So it was sort of a fun way across different functions to work together. So that was sort of the context. That's sort of the context of this episode. So I mean, before going further, let's talk. Learn about like your projects, and I'll start with you, Terry. I mean, Terry, like, tell us briefly about your project, what challenges you were trying to address during the hackathon period. So.
Yeah. As you mentioned, I'm Chief Optimizer Architect. I've been working in query optimization in engineering for a long time. And, you look back historically, cost-based optimization is the standard for, you know, um, access path selection or plan selection within a relational database. And you know, the IBMs, DB2s, the Oracles, the SQL Server have been doing this for 30 or 40 years. And, you know, um, perfecting a query optimizer is challenging for all relational databases. And like I say, Oracle DB2 haven't perfected it, right? But um, query optimizers typically do a good job of choosing an appropriate plan. But there's always some outliers. Um, and so the challenges are to how do you continue to improve a query optimizer without disrupting your base of query plans that people are relying upon. So that's sort of the challenge. You have to move forward without breaking what you have. And of course, AI is just in general an exciting opportunity, but when we live in the practical world for customer applications, like I say, we have to improve without disrupting, right? So we don't really have this opportunity to learn a lot and make a lot of mistakes when it's your production applications that are on the line, right? So that's at a very
Cool.
high level, the challenge that we're trying to solve. Um, so yeah, high level, that's the challenge.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. So, Kyle, let's move over to you. So, what was the project that your team was? I mean, just tell us about the project that your team worked on. Sorry.
Yeah. So our project was essentially an SDR, so sales development rep automation platform. And it was really born from the challenge that a lot of marketers and sales teams have. So you have tons of leads coming in. You're also doing outbound prospecting. There's data all over the place. So gathering intent based on actions that people are doing during their research process, looking for new tools. And the gist of it is trying to bring all of that together in one kind of centralized place. And from the SDR perspective, the goal is to take that information and be able to leverage it to send more personalized emails and outreach to the individuals that we see as a great fit for TiDB. Send those personalized messages at scale. Because trying to craft a highly personalized message based on, say, activity that's happened on our website or things that people are doing on our docs, GitHub, all these different places, trying to kind of cull all that information together and then write a personalized email that's very time consuming. So the more that we can automate that process, it allows our SDRs to reach out to more people while also keeping that high level of personalization. So that's really kind of at the highest level what we were looking to do.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for, I mean, both of you for the overview. And I think I actually forgot to mention this. Obviously, the theme of the hackathon was AI. How can AI help build a better TiDB software and also improve the internal processes? So, following up on the challenges that you're trying to address, and I think like the period was actually quite short. I think all of us basically had 3 or 4 days to work on stuff, and then we all had challenges across, like working across different time zones. And I think Terry, sort of you sort of ran into that. Like I think towards the end of it, there was like a public holiday in China, which wasn't ideal. So it was difficult to sort of find uh, juggling calendars is very difficult. But during those 3 or 4 days, I mean, Terry, for your uh, uh, optimizer cost model tool, like what were you able to create and what were you able to accomplish?
Yeah, you're right. It was jam-packed, and ended up, the final video recorded it on a weekend to get in the timeline. But what we were able to accomplish was, so yeah, I don't want to suggest it's a tool because we're trying to actually integrate into the regular DBA processes, right? But what we were able to accomplish was to construct a way that we could manipulate the cost model externally such that we could issue a SQL command to explore new plans that weren't otherwise going to win with the current cost model. So we could then iterate through um, different query plans and then allow, in our case, we allowed an LLM to evaluate the chosen plans and determine whether there was a different winner than what the optimizer chose. And the LLM, we could feed it additional information like historical execution behavior of similar type plans from different queries. So yeah, it was that decision making. It was sort of we put the plumbing in place to allow us to iterate through different plans, and then the decision making was simply a call to an LLM and providing it details. So that's where you get that AI acceleration in the development effort because we didn't have to come up with a formula or an algorithm for how to evaluate the winners, right? So yeah, that's super high level. We're able to come up with that in a few days.
Cool. Awesome. So, yeah, I think I looked at a lot of the videos because I was part of the team so that was sort of helping organize his event, and I definitely looked through I think most of the videos, and I was very impressed. Like, I mean, your team in particular too, like the amount of work that people were able to do over a few day period. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Um, what about you, Kyle? Like, what were you? I'm sure, like, you worked across like a different teams, like, not just in marketing, but even engineering. And then I think a number of people have been looking at this area to automate, uh, you know, prospect outreach, for example, for a long time. Like, what were you able to create and develop during the hackathon period?
Yeah, so I'd say we might have had a little bit of a head start. So as you mentioned, it's something that we've been working on. So since I started, SDR efficiency, sales velocity, those are all things that have been a big focus for us. And it just so happened that our head of marketing, Udi Gottlieb, he and I sat down and had a conversation about how can we leverage AI more, how can we leverage automation more to improve efficiency within our team. So that happened about a week before the hackathon announcement went out. Um, so we kind of already had an idea in place, instead of kind of just coming up with something on the fly. So we definitely benefited from that. But yeah, in the short time, I know we'll get to kind of the cross-functional teams that we worked with, but it really, this short period of time highlighted the talented people that we have across the organization. I mean, what we were able to spin up in just 4 or 5 days, it's kind of mind-boggling. Um, but really what we were able to do, there was 4 key pieces of the tool. There's still more that we plan on developing. But the first was just getting our own company information into the tool. So key messaging, different persona information, how we fit for specific ICPs, say like fintech, SaaS, digital natives. We got all that into the tool, as well as some training for our LLM based on email messaging that we had sent in the past. So that was one key piece and kind of the foundation. The second piece was a company search element. Um, and what we were able to do was actually integrate a company search that allowed us to pull K10 filing information from publicly listed companies. So being able to identify the challenges, both internal and external challenges, risks, opportunities for these organizations helps us kind of tailor our messaging to how TiDB can assist with those initiatives, challenges, and pains that they're facing. The third piece was a LinkedIn search integration. So we were actually able to, if you have the LinkedIn profile of an individual that you're looking to reach out to, you can enter that into the tool. And what it would do is it would scrape that individual's profile. So look at their job history, the different titles that they've had, how they describe themselves on LinkedIn, plus the different skills that they list. So when you go on LinkedIn, you say, oh, yes, this is a skill that I have, different certifications. So we could pull all that in. And then an actual email generator. So that was an integration with OpenAI. And we set some baseline prompts, the type of tone that you would use in your email, length. So based on all that information, we could pull that together, have the tool generate a prompt for OpenAI, and then with all that information, click generate email, and it would generate a personalized email based on all that information that we had gathered from those different sources.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you alluded to this about your cross-functional team. We had a separate award category for best cross-functional team, which your team, I mean, deservedly won. I mean, you had like marketing, engineering, like people from our education team, like a DevRel, which was really cool. Like, how did that team get formed, and then how early did you start the conversation with the various stakeholders?
Yeah, so the team was actually formed through a conversation between, as I mentioned, Udi Gottlieb and then Todd Bao, who runs our engagement innovation team. So between the two of them, they decided, okay, here's who we can probably work with. And then we also had Cheese Wong. Huge shout out to Cheese. He was kind of the mastermind behind the development of all this. And like I said, you learn how talented the individual team members are that make up TiDB, and what he did in just a few days was outstanding. And then we also had Hazel from the our product-led growth team. So interestingly enough, I'm the marketing guy, but she actually did all the marketing. So the video that we put together, she did a fantastic job. Also was able to leverage some AI for that as well. But yeah, so we basically, as soon as we found out about the project and we had our team together, we jumped on a call right away. Um, Gave Cheese basically all the details that we were looking for, the high level idea, and then he took that and ran with it. Once we had it together, after I think it was like maybe 2 days, we gave him some feedback, and then Hazel started building that video based on what he had built. So we turned it around pretty quick.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, Hazel was, she was one of the main organizers for the hackathon too, overall hackathon. I was fortunate to help her out here and there. But yeah, yeah, I don't know how she found the time. So, and I think
Yeah.
she had I think at some period of the hackathon, she was supposed to be on PTO. Like, I don't know if she really took some time off, but yeah, that was really cool. It was a really, really amazing project. Yeah, and saw a lot of people's fingerprints on your project too, which was good to see. So, so cool. Uh, so want to ask you about like your learnings from the hackathon. Like, obviously you weren't able to spend that much time on it, like because you also have, the challenging thing about the hackathon is that you have your day job too. You're trying to find spare time here and there to work on things. What were like some of your learnings? Did you like run into anything that was sort of unexpected, like either good or bad, or what was your main takeaway? After you worked on your project, Terry, I'll start with you. But,
Yeah, what's interesting, that's similar to what Kyle was saying. We were already working in the space of improving our SQL plan management
mm,
capabilities. And in a query optimizer, SQL plan management is often your foundation of stability that if you run into a regression, uh, many databases have a way to get back to what was a good plan, right? So we were enhancing our SQL plan management. We already have that capability, but making it easier to use and more pervasive. Um, and so what what then we realized is that one of the problems with SQL plan management is it gets you back to what you had as a good plan, but it doesn't allow you to move forward to like, why did I get a wrong plan? And so what we sort of learned from this is um, it with this exploration approach that we created, it actually opens up other opportunities to to have basically an offline exploration of other plan choices. So it's sort of this idea started small but can grow further. And what I believe we've stumbled across is a way to integrate the value of AI, but also constrain the risks. So that to me is sort of a significant learning from that. And like I say, it started small, and then we said, "Oh wow," because myself in career optimization and many companies have been trying to figure out how to exploit AI in a query optimizer. When you've already got a cost model that is providing good results, initially AI can produce worse results if you basically switch to AI. There's kind of its accuracy initially is not great. So how do you transition from something that's already good and take something that has the potential, but it starts out, you know, worse, right? So
right.
so sort of the learning was how to integrate the stability and the opportunity of AI. So that was to me the exciting learning from our hackathon.
Cool. Awesome. Kyle, what about you? Like,
Yeah, so I worked for with a chief revenue officer in the past, so I'll give him kind of a shout out. But he used to hammer on the art of the possible, and I think that's definitely something that I learned. So not being a developer at all, learning when I looked at this project, I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this. But seeing what was possible after just a few days really kind of opened my eyes to what more we could do. So being able to see that, see all these different pieces come together, and then it just kind of opened some doors for where we can take this next. Um, like I said, it was really eye-opening. But from a challenges perspective, it certainly you learn that also some things it does take a little bit of investment. So a lot of what we were trying to do, you can't necessarily do for free. So especially when it comes to different integrations, things like that. So getting access to APIs in order to get some of the data that we're looking for. But with the right people in the room, and again, just the talent that we had on the team, we were able to get a lot of this done at no cost. So with a little bit of investment, we can take this thing kind of way beyond where we have it today.
Awesome. Thank you. Daniel, I think I may have cut you off. Like, I think you were about to like ask a question or had a comment, but
Well, there were a
yeah,
few places where I was about to ask a comment, and then like someone was just like explaining what I was going to ask for. So,
yeah.
but I think it's really interesting to see like in with like very little time how you get something that like really proves like that something is possible, that you can go from there. And for example, with Optimizer, I guess that opens up a lot of doors for new, better development for the Optimizer, and for like better adjustment for like specific hardware and whatnot. So that's really interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think to that point, what sort of um, catching up on something Kyle alluded to as well, that and you mentioned this, Ray, that the hackathon to me um, gets, from for us engineers, and for Kyle, obviously it's not just engineers, but it gets us from out of the daily routine of we're working to either improve our product or enhance it based upon customer requirements, to suddenly switch your mindset to the innovation mindset. That doesn't mean we're not innovating on a daily basis, but
Mhm.
suddenly you've got this, let's go with random thoughts. Let's try something big. And it is amazing that in a hackathon you'll take risks that you wouldn't have taken in just your regular daily job when you're trying to produce a quality product. So not
Mm-hmm.
in the hackathon are we trying to do something that isn't quality, but you'll at least take risks in a hackathon that you may not have taken just working on the product itself to
Yes.
deliver customer value. So that to me is what, and so yeah, you try some crazy things, you take risks, and then you're like, oh wow, we could really um, um, productionize this, and then you have to take a little bit of time to make it, the quality product that the customer expects. But at least you started with those random crazy thoughts that you wouldn't have, been thinking about when you were just focused on the customer requirements and the daily improvements to your product. So to me, that's the really cool part about this hackathon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like
and sorry, I just want to touch on one thing. So, and Terry mentioned this, adding customer value, and I think this was another key learning as part of this process is just the importance of gathering end user feedback. So that's one thing. So we went into this, we built it. I kind of had the idea, okay, here's how we would probably use this, and then now that we've got people, real life users, as my SDR team is going in there, there's a lot of things that we probably didn't do right as well. Which is great. I think it's a good learning for anybody who's trying to develop a product. Us internally, it was probably a great thing as well. So when you start getting eyes on it, getting feedback from people, it's a good way to highlight, okay, here's where maybe we missed the mark. Here's the real world use case, which was awesome to see.
yeah, what I was about to say is like recently I went to like the AI, no, no, I mean the AWS summit from in London and in Amsterdam. And it was interesting to see because there's like lots of companies that say like, well, we are now the AI company for some industry, or the AI solution for this and the AI solution for that. You're like, I think it's just the same old tool and it's just like renamed AI. So I think there's like a lot of devaluation on like what AI is. And I think this is like a good example on like how AI can actually be useful beyond just like some interactive things in like Chat GPT, and actually provide value. And I think that's great.
Yeah, the other thing to that point, Daniel, like in career optimization, those that are in the career optimization space know that you can use feedback and learning, right, to improve the optimizer. And, how much of that are we saying is AI, right? Is it, it's you you can, like you say, you can twist your implementation to say, yes, it's AI. But what is cool about what we've developed here is that feedback and learning, which of course you can feed into machine learning models, et cetera. Often you're building a lot of infrastructure and collecting a lot of data to allow you to learn something. And customers don't want to pay for us to get the right plans. That's just an expectation that we're going to get the right plans. So they don't like it if we're forcing them to create basically a data warehouse of their prior application query performance so that we can learn, right? So, you know, all of these challenges that we had of um, exploring new plans without breaking the existing and um, learning or taking advantage of AI without having to build a massive infrastructure of data to feed in. All of these challenges, um, you know, we we have somewhat overcome in our, and so now it's about how do we integrate that into the TiDB optimizer, and that's the next steps that we're focused on.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, one of the things as I was helping to organize a hackathon was I did some research on like internal hackathons at other companies. And then I think the most famous example that people you'll see if you Google like internal hackathons or something along those lines, like one of the first thing that pops up is a like button on Facebook. Apparently that was developed during the hackathon, which I didn't know. So what I think hackathon allows you to do is gives you sort of permission, like you said, Terry, to take risks, do something slightly different than what you've been doing on a day-to-day basis, or even allows you to carve out time to like even do like a simple research. The other thing that was really interesting from some of the articles I read, I think the company was Okta. Like they dedicate time during internal hackathon to evaluate different tools. Like, I mean, that's something, I don't have the discipline to do, but during the hackathon, I have the permission to sort of carve out time to do that, even though it's not directly related to my day-to-day job. So even evaluating different LLMs, which I don't think I've done it exhaustively in the past. So that's something. I mean, Daniel and I worked on a team for our hackathon project, but it was actually kind of fun, like having time. I had sort of quote unquote permission to spend time looking at, like a DeepSeek was one of the LLMs that I didn't spend a whole lot of time researching. So I really appreciated the opportunity to be able to do that, to look at different tools. So cool. So yeah, so moving from learnings, I think like Terry, you sort of alluded to this already. If you can, I assume the work you've done with the optimizer team, like this will be, some of the work could be integrated into our future releases of TiDB. And Kyle, if you can also share how you want to sort of carry your project forward. I mean, I think you mentioned that you already got feedback from the SDRs, but yeah, if you can share those, we'll start with you, Terry, again. But
Yeah, and as you're alluding to, I partly already answered this question that yes, we were already working on improving our SQL plan management usability for customers, and then we are enhancing that to add this plan exploration capability as part of it. So it's not a tool; it's actually part of the integrated into the TiDB optimizer where you're able to issue a SQL command to basically look at what plans have I had historically and what other opportunities are there. Um, and so it's a SQL command rather than a external tool.
Mhm.
And so yeah, the first deliverable is just basically that SQL interface for DBAs with the long-term goal of basically learning and automation. But yeah, the plan is now to take this and develop it into the upcoming releases of TiDB.
Cool, awesome, right. Kyle, I think you alluded to like your future thinking too, but if you want to add more details, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I think there's probably three key pieces that we're looking to do. But at the end of the day, so there's actually been an internal mandate that we want to have a V 1.0 of this up and running that for our SDRs to use by the end of this month. So one of the key pieces is training the tool more on the internal knowledge that we have. So from a persona perspective, getting as much in-depth data as we can, so that the pains and challenges that a IT leader has versus a senior engineer versus a DBA, so the tool can understand, okay, here's the differences between these people. Enhancing the outputs that we get from the integration with OpenAI. So one is improving our prompts, but also getting the tool to give us more. So instead of just writing one personalized email, actually give us a full sequence of emails that we can send to that individual, because it takes multiple touches across the email, LinkedIn, phone calls, other different touches across the web to get in touch with some of these people and get them to respond. So building that out further. So also getting LinkedIn in-mail messaging. So it's going to be shorter and more consolidated, more punchy. So back to the training, also training the tool on customer use cases. So we have some amazing customers with awesome stories. So training the tool on those stories, that way you can integrate those into the messaging. And then the third piece is pulling in buyer intent data. So being able to leverage the activities that specific individuals are taking across our website, docs, different activities on GitHub. So community users, we also have integrations with different community tools that we're using. So being able to pull all of that in and just further personalize based on that individual's activity or that account's activity to really, and the idea behind Samurai, that's what we're calling it internally, is being able to cut through email noise like a samurai sword. So that was kind of the gist of it and what we're looking to do.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Looking forward to that. It's actually exciting times. I mean, like Daniel, you said, there's a lot of marketing, uh, you know, noise about AI, but I mean, I think in a lot of ways, it's been very helpful in a lot of different areas of the work that we do, like whether you're an engineer like Terry, or the other, parts of the organization within the company. So there are definitely opportunities. And yeah, I mean, if sort of weave through the marketing noise, I think, I mean, there are a lot of ways that we can benefit from a lot of the AI tools out there. Cool. So yeah, I think we reached the end of the episode, and as with our tradition, Terry, you're familiar with the drill. We like to ask guests about where they live, and Terry, I think when we recorded last year, you're starting to pack your stuff to move from Springfield, Illinois, the land of
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln, to the Pacific Northwest. So I think now you're in sort of Pierce County, outside of Seattle. And Kyle, I forget the name of the city you're in. I think you're in Riverside County in Southern California. Is that correct? So,
That's correct. Yeah,
yeah,
you can
cool.
just Temecula.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, I'll switch around if you don't mind. Like Kyle, let's start with you. Tell us about where you live and what people may not know about.
Yeah, so Riverside County, so we are neighbors to Orange County, the OC. That's actually where I'm originally from, as well as San Diego County. They're our neighbors to the south. So Riverside, so runs from OC actually all the way to the Colorado River, basically stretches all the way across California. But fun fact, it's home to not only Palm Springs. So if you've ever been there, traveled there, big golf capital. But where I'm at specifically, people think of wine country as being NorCal and Napa, or Central Cal like Paso Robles, but we've actually got our own little wine country here. So you get outside the city just a few minutes, and all of a sudden you're in rolling hills and rolling vineyards. It kind of looks like Tuscany.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. So I'll have to go
Yeah.
check that out. So
Yep. All the vines are turning green right now. It's beautiful.
oh, cool, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely have to check that out. So Terry, how are you liking the Pacific Northwest, and tell us about where you live.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, moving from the cornfields of Illinois to the 100-foot evergreens of the Pacific Northwest. Um, you know, a couple. So I absolutely love it here. People have this perception that it's raining all the time in Seattle, and I think that's very depressing for people. And yes, if you're downtown Seattle and you're surrounded by um, concrete structures, then that could be a little depressing. But if you go out 45 minutes, an hour out of the city, you know, you've got massive trees, and even if it is raining, you know, you have to look straight up to see the gray sky. I mean, because you're surrounded by green trees. So it's actually, um, you know, that is not depressing. So to me, that's sort of a mistake or a myth that people have about you know, how depressing it is out here. The other thing that I think is super cool is, you know, I'm somewhat close to the water, the Puget Sound, and from what I can see, we kind of have killer whales that are just sort of roaming the area all year round. Um, you know, and that's something I didn't, you know, what I knew about the Seattle area was the rain, not that, you know, the marine life. So that's kind of the coolest thing that I've observed here in you know, around the Seattle area.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, two very different landscapes and climates in the West Coast are represented here. So cool. Well, I mean, thanks again, both of you, for your time, and congratulations on your hackathon projects. I mean, you know, you guys both awards in each categories. I mean, well deserved. I mean, along with, like I said, I love reviewing all the submissions. I was just very impressed with the not just the quality of the work, but different diverse area of the work that people tackle. So, you know, hopefully we'll get to do this again as a company. It was a really fun thing to do. Very hectic, but very fun. So. Thanks both of you for coming on, and yeah, if we haven't scared you enough yet, Terry, like and you too, Kyle, we'll try to have you both back on a future episode.
Once a year.
All right, all right.
Sounds
So that's
good.
your
Thank you,
quota, I
Ray.
guess. All right. Thanks very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Right.
Bye.